So when I first came to New York, I would stay with this guy in Queens, and this is him right here. This is Shannon. And Shannon, how was it, me staying with you?
Fucking nightmare.
You say that I'm a dreamer. You always let me be myself. That's just what you do, man. When you love someone when I'm feeling worthless. You're always there to help me out. That's just what you do, man. When you love someone, you know that I will be the light, to always be there at your side. I just wanna tell you why. And this is how it goes. I wait to be the one to catch you when you're falling. Always, I'll be the one to answer when you're calling. Well, you know I get so lonely, but with you I never feel alone. I guess that's how it is, man. When you love someone, you know I'm out here working. You know I do it all for you. Nobody's perfect, they say. You know that I will be the light, to always be there at your side. I just wanna tell you why. And this is how it goes.
Until next time?
Wait, there's gonna be a next time?
Oh my gosh. I grew up always wanting to go to New York City, and in 2017 I was lucky enough to get to go. I was in awe the whole time I was there. I just thought, dang, I can't believe I'm here. I'm finally in New York City. Did I go alone? No. I went with Fran. Fran's my neighbor, but I've always thought of her as a grandparent. I'd be over at our house all the time growing up. She would take care of me. So we known each other for a long time, my whole childhood. She would always talk about her son and how he lives in New York City.
And I said he didn't like to drive here. And he said, well, that's terrible. And then when we got to Shannon's, Shannon came out and, met the taxi. You should be ashamed of yourself for not picking your mother up from the airport.
And she would go visit him once or twice a year. So sometime later, I asked her, like, hey, next time you go to New York City, you think you could take me? And she didn't even hesitate. She said, yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we'll do that. And then it was a whole year before we went, but yeah, she took me. She took me the next time she went. It's my first time on an airplane, and there was turbulence the whole flight. There was even one point where Fran leans over to me and says, Dalton, this isn't normal. I get to New York, and I finally get to meet her son that she's always talked about, Shannon, who is a philosophy professor.
You are learning by doing. You are learning by engaging in the process. And that's what a bad teacher doesn't do. A bad teacher stands up and goes, 1, blah, 2, blah, 3, blah, and he questions. A good teacher goes, 1, blah. Is this true? Do you agree with this? Does this matter to you? Does this match with with your experience. The teacher functions not as an expert, but as a guide. And that's the big difference. Look, it comes down to this. A bad teacher is a babysitter, and a bad one. A good teacher is somebody that functions as a guide, that brings all of these curricular activities together. The great teacher, now I'm not saying I'm a great teacher, but the great teacher is someone that takes it to the next level. I'm not criticizing it. I'm not trying to make a judgment on it. But I think that there's some people that have trouble empathizing with the needs of other people. How do you teach somebody that it's important to understand the world around them?
And he's a New Yorker, so I got this amazing experience. He knows the city so well, he'd just be walking around, taking us places, and he would just stop at like a street or a building and just had all this knowledge. He would give us like dates, historical facts, or just like a interesting something about this place. And it was just like, wow.
And a bunch of anarchists had a horse-drawn wagon that built with dynamite and window sash weights. Killed like 35 people. Blew up. And they said, we're not going to fix it.
This is where the city ended.
It just gave me like a much greater appreciation for the city because I thought, man, a regular tourist would not be getting this. Fast forward, it's 2 years later, it's 2019, and I'm talking to this girl. And I even go out with her. I like her, but she didn't like me. It is what it is, you know? She'll find someone probably grander than me. And I find out later that she didn't like me because she thought I wasn't ready to grow up. And that just hurt me, and I thought about that, and I thought, yeah, I would like to achieve the dream before I settle in this life. And then I immediately started applying for acting schools, and I get an audition for the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and it's in New York City. So I reach out to Shannon, and he says, come on. And so here I go back to New York City. And this trip was really different because I thought, I'm here on business. I have a mission this trip. I'm just here to crush this audition. So on that trip, I filmed like little to nothing the whole trip. And it was just a chaotic trip because I thought, okay, I'm here in New York City. Yes, I'm doing this audition, but I want to make the most of this trip. So I would go out into the city by myself. And it was just a wreck. I would get on the train and I would hit the wrong stops and I'd be on the wrong train and then I get lost and I would end up having to walk everywhere, and if you walk everywhere, it just takes up so much of your time. But I learned so much that trip. It was a great experience to get to be in the city by yourself. I had been there before, but I didn't know exactly how it works. I had followed someone around the whole time, but this time I'm by myself and I'm having to learn. But I still had a great time. My best time was spent talking with Shannon on the balcony, talking philosophy and life. And the audition went good. I had a great talk. I had a great audition. Audition went great. The lady was really nice. And it was a great experience overall. I really hope I get accepted to the school. But, we're starting somewhere, and so I won't hear back. It's like 4 weeks. And I find out a few weeks later that I actually got accepted to the school. I didn't go because it was $40,000 a year for tuition, plus $20,000 for housing costs a year. And it's a 2-year program, so that immediately makes it $120,000. And I thought, I ain't got this kind of money. It was a good thing I didn't go because, yes, I would have been in debt, but also I would have started school, and then a few months later, 2020 would have happened, and a pandemic and acting school would have not have mixed at all. And it would have just been another big nightmare to have to deal with on top of the nightmare we already had to deal with. And then here we were, years later, and I just got this itch. I was talking to my buddy, and it's like, man, I want to go back to New York City. I miss it. I want to go back. And he said, well, get your ass there then. And then 3 weeks later, I find myself in New York City. And I had the best time. I knew the city. I've been here before. I know how it works. I could hop on the train, go wherever I wanted to go. It was so much easier getting around after you've been here a time or two. Been with people, then been with myself, then by myself again. This time it was just I got this, and just went. I went places I hadn't been before, saw stuff that I hadn't seen before, and I love going to the city. And my last night there, I met with Shannon, and we just met, ate, and chatted, and just hung out the whole night. It was so much fun.
What have you got to be? You got to have the talent and the skill. Okay? But you've got to cultivate that talent and skill. And that's scary, right? And then you've got to have the nerve and the guts to go through the process of showing people that you not only have the talent and the skill, but you've got the nerve to put up with it and to do it.
But now let's go back to New York City and finish this video. New York City, you've been amazing, but now it's time for me to get my ass back on the airplane and go home.
Not born a fool, but I found